Intends to fulfill another campaign promise. The White House is preparing an executive order to eliminate the Department of Education.
First Alert 6, Philip Katafamo shares how this could impact your child's education and your wallet.
It's a waiting game for now to see what the future of the Department of Education will look like. President Trump is looking to abolish the federal agency, sending education decisions to state and local levels. That's where Nebraska Senator Pete Ricketts says he believes it should be handled.
I do think there's lots of opportunities for us to streamline what the Department of Education does and really return that control back to the states and back to school boards, because that's where it really belongs.
The Department of Education says its elementary and secondary programs serve more than 50 million students in 18,000 districts. If the federal agency goes away, local school officials say those programs could be difficult for their districts to fund.
We could potentially, as the state of Iowa, have to come up with millions and millions of dollars to be able to fund Title I reading programs, Title I math programs, homelessness, special education. So that then would become a direct burden of the individual states.
The Lewis Central District includes 4 schools serving about 3,200 students. Hazing says his biggest worry is if the agency and its funding go away completely.
A school our size, if you're going to cut $1 million or $1 million plus out of our budget, then you will see services for kids significantly change unless the state steps in and says we're going to take over that, which means that they're going to have to tax more to our local local citizens in order to make up the difference.
First Alert 6 also reached out to Omaha Public Schools about the potential changes. They sent us a statement saying, quote, "We are monitoring updates and will keep in touch with the Nebraska Department of Education for further guidance and the potential impact." In Omaha, I'm Philip Katafamo, First Alert 6.
President Trump cannot abolish the Department of Education without congressional approval. Now, this isn't the first time the U.S. tried to either abolish the department or merge it with another agency. Previous attempts failed to get backing from federal lawmakers.